Welcome to the Mangrove Jack Starter Kit video guide, where we'll walk you through everything you need to brew your first beer. So let's get started. In your kit, you will find all the equipment you need to brew, and you can check that you have everything by referencing the first page of your instructions. In starting off, you'll first need your 30-liter barrel fermenter, your fermenter tap, thermometer strip, airlock and rubber grommet, mixing spoon, and of course your sanitizer, and a spray bottle if you have one handy. From here, everything else can be set aside for later. Your first step will be to assemble your fermenter. You'll want to assemble your fermenter by screwing in the tap to the bottom of the fermenter and making sure that it fits tight. We recommend you do a quick check for any leaking before moving on. To do this, check the tap is in the closed or off position and fill your fermenter with enough water to cover the tap so you can check for any leaks. Once you've emptied the water from your leak check, you can apply the thermometer strip. You'll want to be sure to apply this vertically below the 16-liter mark and in a spot you can read clearly. Now on to the most important part of the process, cleaning and sanitizing. Start by adding 5 liters of water to your fermenter. Then, add the contents of your no-rinse sanitizer sachet or 2 tablespoons of sanitizer, stirring the mixture until the sanitizer dissolves. On your first brew, you can skip cleaning and move straight to the sanitizing step, but do be sure to clean your equipment once you've completed your brew day. This process is important because it ensures that your equipment is free of any wild yeast or bacteria that could cause infection in your brew, contributing to off flavors or even stopping fermentation altogether. Go ahead and place your spoon, airlock, and rubber grommet inside the fermenter, put the lid on, and carefully swirl the liquid inside. Be sure the sanitizer comes in contact with all surfaces, running a little through the tap. After swirling, leave your fermenter for 5 minutes, then give it another swirl with a 5-minute rest. After you've sanitized, be sure to keep this mixture and collect it in your spray bottle. The sanitizer solution you've just made is perfect to keep on hand to re-clean any equipment if it gets contaminated, as well as for spot cleaning throughout your brew day. Simply drain your sanitizing solution through the tap and into your spray bottle, and you're good to go. Leave your emptied fermenter and equipment to drip dry. While drying, let's get prepped for brewing. Now on to the fun part. You'll need your beer kit, some warm water, and your beer enhancer. Go ahead and set your beer kit can in the warm water for about 10 minutes. This will help soften the malt extract inside and make it easier to pour into your fermenter. Now that your fermenter is sanitized and dry, add 2 liters of boiling water to your fermenter, followed by the contents of your beer enhancer. As mentioned before, it's always helpful to give your equipment a quick spritz of sanitizer before using and adding. Take your freshly sanitized mixing spoon and stir well. After letting your beer kit stand in warm water, it's now ready to be added, and you can pour the contents of the can into the fermenter. A good tip here to help with any malt extract left in the can is to use a small amount of warm water to get out the leftover. From here, top your fermenter to the 23-liter line with cold water and stir. You may need to let your fermenter set for a little bit until the temperature on the thermometer is in range for pitching your yeast. For yeast like Kveik, the temperature range that the yeast can tolerate is greater, so when using this yeast, if the temperature reads between 25 and 40 degrees Celsius, you are all ready to pitch your yeast. Check your instructions to see what the best pitching temperature is for your yeast that you're using. It looks like this brew is just at the right temperature, so let's pitch our yeast now. Open your yeast sachet and sprinkle the yeast onto the surface of your brew, but do not stir. Place your fermenter lid on and ensure that it's closed tightly. Now we can assemble the final part of your fermenter, which is the airlock. This is in place to make sure that no contaminants get into your brew while also letting the CO2 from fermentation escape. To do this, take your sanitized grommet and fit it into the sanitized airlock. Half fill the airlock U with either sanitizer or previously boiled water that's cooled. Place the cap on top of the airlock and fit the grommet and airlock into the hole at the top of the fermenter. If you have trouble fitting it in, you may need to fit the grommet in first and then fit the bottom of the airlock into the grommet. It's important to now take a specific gravity or SG reading, as it will allow you to track fermentation and know when it's complete. The first thing you'll need to do is remove the hydrometer from its case, which is also your trial jar. You'll want to be sure to take out the foam from the caps of the trial jar. From here, fill your jar with a small sample of your brew and float the hydrometer in the tube by spinning it between your thumb and finger to remove any bubbles that might attach and distort the reading. Take the reading where the liquid level meets the hydrometer and take note of this number. Discard the sample and do not pour back into your fermenter. Now you're ready to let the yeast work its magic, converting the sugars in your brew to alcohol for the next 5 to 10 days. During this time, you'll probably also notice bubbling in the airlock, which is a sign that fermentation is occurring. After the airlock stops bubbling completely, or after 10 days, using a sanitized hydrometer, take an SG reading. If the SG showing is at or stays close to the target gravity reading of 1.015 and remains the same for 2 consecutive days, this means your brew is ready to be bottled. Before bottling your brew, you'll want to be sure that you've cleaned and sanitized your brewing bottles. If this is your first time using the PET bottles in your kit, or you know you've cleaned them properly after a previous brew, you can go ahead and move on to sanitizing. If not, be sure to give your bottles a thorough clean first. To sanitize your bottles, add 5 liters of cold water to a sink or bucket and mix either 2 tablespoons or the contents of a second no-rinse sanitizer sachet in the water and dissolve. Now submerge the bottle caps and brew bottler attachment in the solution and let them sit. Next, you can begin grabbing the individual PET bottles and filling them about halfway with sanitizer, covering the top and gently shaking to ensure that the solution comes in contact with all surfaces. Empty the solution back into the sink or bucket you're using and repeat for all the bottles. Once everything is sanitized and dry, give the fermenter tap a spray with sanitizer. Next, attach the brew bottler securely. And now it's safe to turn the fermenter tap to the open position. Take your first bottle and fit the brew bottler inside until the end of the brew bottler is pressing against the bottom of your bottle. The pressure from the bottom of the bottle against the valve will open it, allowing the bottle to fill with beer. When the bottle is full, leaving about 5 centimeters or 2 inches from the top of the bottle, release the pressure on the brew bottler and gently remove the bottle. Now that all of your beer bottles are full, you can go ahead and add 2 carbonation drops to each bottle and securely cap them. Now that everything is bottled up, you can move your bottles to a warm place to continue carbonating for 2 weeks. After that 2 weeks, move your bottles to somewhere cool and dark that's not a refrigerator for the next 7 days to clear. After 7 days, your brew is cleared and you're ready to enjoy. Congratulations, you've just made your first brew with Mangrove Jacks. From here, the next steps are up to you. Mangrove Jacks has a wide range of beer and cider styles, so check out your local homebrew store to see what's next. From the team at Mangrove Jacks, cheers and welcome to homebrewing.